What's up, y'all? I'm back with another one, and this one is a huge one because yesterday was my Forever Love Day. My Forever Love Day is a coin that I turned for my suicide attempt anniversary. So for those of you guys who struggle with suicide ideation, or you have attempted suicide, you're thinking about it, you're in that just really dark space, you struggle with depression or anxiety, I think that this video is going to be extremely insightful and maybe just to help you to feel more seen or understood. But before I get into that, I wanted to kind of give a shout out real quick, because Brooke Wilson, you wrote a comment that was just so timely, and I just wanted to acknowledge this. It says, "Yes, we love these videos / you, but please don't ever let them come as an obligation. We want you to take care of Erica first. So if it's just a newly incorporated part of your therapeutic process, then yes, by all means, we'll take the manna, but only under those standards. Love you, God is E." And I so appreciate this because this is why I started that. This is why I started doing these videos. Less about the numbers, less about trying to just find another means of content to be able to monetize or whatever. And it's really more about just opening up more, sharing more about my actual journey. And so I really appreciate you, Brooke, for seeing me. I appreciate you for acknowledging that moment. Because this is definitely coming from a place of I'm just doing this and letting the chips fall where they may. I appreciate you guys who have been in the comments and just telling me how helpful these conversations have been. I'm not sure how often I'll do these. I'm just kind of doing them as I feel led, and that's what happens. So I ask that you guys just continue to like and share, turn on the notifications so that you can stay updated for when I'm talking about this more often. But again, thank you, Brooke, for that reminder, because sometimes, like when you are a giver, when you have such a big heart and you are a leader, it's very easy to get lost in the service of other people, right? And neglecting your own needs. And so my community, I appreciate y'all holding me accountable to make sure that I'm taking care of Erica first, because ultimately taking care of myself first is going to allow me to continue to show up and really just give my best. So going back, yesterday was my Forever Love Day. So some of y'all can see the tattoo right here. And it says right here, let me try to, there we go, Forever Loved, and it's got 4/21/2021. And so that date is like an extremely huge date for my life, because that was my suicide attempt date. And I remember just being in that hospital, and something in me died that day. A part of me died. I can 100% say that. And when I walked out of the hospital, a new version of me came out. And I remember when I was sitting in the hospital, and it was during COVID time, so nobody could come into the hospital. So I was in there by myself. And I just remember God really just speaking to my heart and saying, you know, you've been trying to live your life for people who won't even be here to see you die. And you have been so consumed with trying to be everything that everybody else wanted you to be. And all I ever asked for you was just to show up and be yourself. And in that hospital, I gave myself permission to live. And I knew that in order for me to live, something in me had to die. And what died that day was, I think, caring about what people thought about me, holding on to certain expectations of like what I thought I should have been, and being okay with disappointing people. Those parts of me that I felt like I wasn't enough because people wouldn't approve of me, or I wasn't good enough because the core belief system that I had about myself was internally, I felt like something was wrong with me. I felt like that I was internally flawed. I felt like, I was just not good enough, right? And as I was going through this journey of healing, it has been a beautiful journey, but it has also been a difficult one, because a lot of people don't talk about when you are really healing and you're going through this process, the need to like set boundaries and the need to cut things off that have brought you comfort, the need to like separate from things that you've built a fortress around yourself to protect you. And now the healing journey is saying like, okay, let's address some of these behaviors, why you continue to end up in these cyclical cycles, and let's really take accountability for why you're doing what you're doing, right? And taking accountability, becoming self-aware is not always the easiest thing to do. It's not always easy to own up to your shit. It's not always easy. And I have been in that place, to say the least. And so my Forever Love Day was interesting, right? Because the anniversary of trying to harm yourself, it brings a lot of memories to your body. Like, if y'all ever read this book called The Body Keeps the Score, essentially talks about how your body just holds trauma. And now I'm 3 years into this, or at my anniversary. So my body, compared to the first anniversary to now, is a little bit different. But I remember that first year around, my body was very tense. It was kind of almost bracing for something bad to happen. I definitely had more ideation around self-harm again, just from a standpoint of, could I trust myself? I felt in my body was bracing for something, right? And so over the last couple of years, I have really been working to create safety within my body, allowing my body to release some of the physical trauma that it has experienced and it has held on to, and really working to create safety within myself and safety within my environment, so that I know, that as I'm going through this healing process, it's okay to become undone. And a lot of times when we are in survival mode or we are in protective mode and we don't feel safe, we cannot become undone. We have built these protective mechanisms around our thoughts patterns, around our behaviors, to help us to feel safe in areas and places that we don't feel safe. And it wasn't until I actually created and got into safe environments, safe communities, where I actually became undone. And meaning, I didn't know my body had so many tears. I didn't know my body had so much pain that it was carrying, from just the self-hatred that I inflicted upon myself, the self-harm that I inflicted upon myself. And so I just wanted to love on myself yesterday. And that's what I did. I took it very slow. 3 years post, my body feels a little bit different, right? Because I'm no longer in a dangerous environment. So my body recognizes oh, you're actually safe. Even though this was a memory that we have, you are now in a safe place that you can just rest. You don't have to try to protect yourself or brace yourself for what's bad or what's to come. But you can rest in knowing that the environment that you're in is a safe environment, and you are a safe place for yourself. And that took time. That took me going to therapy. That took me really, really cutting some atmospheres and some people out of my life temporarily, so that I can really cultivate a healthy environment for myself. You know what I mean? And boy, it wasn't easy to have to tell friends and family members that you have to create distance so that you can work on learning your own space and your own place, and finding yourself, right? And creating safety within yourself. This had nothing to do with anybody else around me, but everything to do with me and how I showed up for me, and how I was going to reconcile what I did to me. How was I going to reconcile that through action and through forgiveness, and to those out there who have family members who have attempted suicide or who have committed suicide, my heart just goes out to you. And on behalf of someone who has attempted, thank you for showing up. I know that it's not easy, and it's almost like you guys need support too. It is. You guys need support. You guys need groups. You guys need therapy as well, because while, yes, I was one of the people that attempted, we don't oftentimes talk about the effects that it has on the people and the family around us, and the support that they need on how to properly support us and to prepare us. And I remember I had a friend who was going through this with me at this time, and she would talk about it later on, because she couldn't really talk about it then because I was suicidal and I just was not just at my best. I just was not at my best, right? And so she didn't want to set me off edge. But later on, she talked about how her process of going through this traumatic experience of almost losing the closest person to her. In her processing through that, the anger, the frustration that she felt, the deep sadness that she felt, and also the compassion. There was just so many different emotions that she carried. And so we celebrate that day together. So for Every Love Day, I reached out and she was like, I celebrate this day too, because this was a day that I also was forever changed. And just growing through those pains, I just realized, like, man, it is such a beautiful thing to be on the other side. It is such a beautiful thing to be on the other side. And what I realized in that day was the old life died. The life that I didn't know, I no longer wanted to live, that died in that hospital. And I woke up to a new life. I woke up to a new life. I woke up to a new version of myself that chose to live. But I knew that if I was going to live, I had to live differently. And a major reason for my attempt was because of, the self-hatred that I had about myself, most of it inflicted upon by the church. Christians can be some of the most harmful people who use God in the name of love to try to justify their harm. And I was in a very harmful environment, a very unsafe place as it pertains to not just my sexuality. Like, some people think that my sexuality is like the main thing, and it's not even that. Like, it was more so about the abuse of using the person. Like, church, oftentimes what they do is their volunteers, they use their volunteers in very abusive ways, in a sense of they will take and guilt you into giving more, and then try to use positions and status to incentivize you to continue to grow. Now, of course, some of y'all gonna be in the comments saying that's not every church. We know that it's not every church, right? But it does happen. And from my experience, I was taught to deplete myself and serve everyone else. I was taught that self-love was not a God thing, that is selfish to kind of put self first, is like rooted in pride, which is not true. I don't care what they say. Y'all can fight about it in the comments. I don't care. That's just not true. But I was definitely taught how to give at my lowest, give when I didn't have it. And I was taught to think that there was something else outside of me that I needed in order for me to be whole and to be complete. I was taught that I was born into sin, shaped into iniquity, and I was forever flawed. I'm not going to go into the nuances, because I know Christians right now, they are getting their fingers ready to start fighting whatever I'm going to say. And I just no longer give you guys energy, just because I don't fight religion. I don't fight mindsets. And a lot of times that doesn't come from a place of love. So I was taught these things. And then as it pertains to my sexuality, of course, being taught that there was something wrong with me that I had to suppress or to deny. And I did that for quite a long time. I would say I'm pretty young. So I would say for about 60%, 70% of my life, the 30% I was a child and just didn't know. So 70% of my life was definitely dealing with killing self, dying to self, this mindset of I'm not good enough, therefore I need this external thing to kind of complete me or to make me feel whole. And it just continued to do a downward cycle. Now, mind you, these were the same people who were applauding my gift, using my gift on stage, using me to draw people to their churches, using me to get people to pay their tithe, using me for the project funds and the building funds and the serving. And like when it came to the church's benefit, they definitely used me. But when it came to loving me in the ways that I needed to be loved, that was severely lacking. And so I was in the church since a very early age, like 7 or 8. And I started leadership, leading people at the age of 16. So I was very, very young and highly conditioned by the church. Mindsets were highly conditioned. And you know what's crazy is like, I'm not even mad at the church. Like, do I care for the church? No, I don't. But I'm not mad at it. I think that church is for some people, but it's not for everybody. And the people who don't go to church, it doesn't mean that they don't have a relationship with God. That is a scam, guys. Just a FYI. So if they tell you that, don't believe the hype. But yeah, I'm not mad at the church. It's just I understand how the church operates. You know what I mean? And the church that I came out of, it was just a very harmful environment. And I was just kind of taught to be separate from myself, right? And so a lot of those things like led me down a dark path. And this is in the process of me doing the fasting, doing the praying. Like I was top when I compared to like in the church where I was top tier. And I don't say that to be boastful or to be bragging or anything, but I was the one that was living, like really, really living this life according to the standard. It wasn't some hype. It wasn't some, I'm showing one card one way and then on the back end, I'm doing something else. I definitely had my days though. Don't get it twisted. I had moments where I was a little savage. I'm not gonna hold you. But for the most part, and when I say the most part, like I had a pruning process. I had a growth period. And I really committed to like this spirituality and things like that. And I remember in 2019, I made a decision to seek God like never before. And I called it Seek Week. And I had started already this whole journey for like a year. And man, I did not understand what God was doing with me, because when I sought God like I never sought God before, I found God outside of the church. I found God. I found love. I found love. I found love. I found hope. I found peace. And then as I begin this journey, a lot of people think, oh, well, you're just trying to like figure out like your sexuality so you can find an excuse to live the way you want to live. And that was not my case, my story. I actually did not start this journey to try to solve the sexuality thing. I started this journey because I really wanted to make sure I understood the God that I said I believed in. And I thought that back then I was just so engrossed in the church and whatever my pastors told me that I didn't know if I knew how to think for myself and think on my own. And so I went on this journey to really try to understand God for myself. And when I went on this journey, the things that I discovered, oh my goodness, it was beautiful. And it was so liberating and free, because I just realized a lot of things that I personally was being taught was just not in alignment with what I understand, who I understand God to be. And so it's just a beautiful journey. And I had decided as I was going on this journey, I wanted to know God, and whoever God was, that is what I would set my intentions and my focus to be. Right. And then the sexuality thing came up because it was just one of those questions that I started asking God. And I had the mindset that was kind of like, regardless to whether this is right or wrong, God, I don't care. Like, I want you. Like, if this is, I remember approaching it like, if this is wrong, then definitely that's fine with me. I'm cool, because I had already lived a very strict lifestyle, a very denied lifestyle anyway. So I was just kind of like, I'm cool, God. You know what I mean? Like, if this is not right, but if it is, if you don't even care about this, show me the revelation that you have for me in this space. And lo and behold, I realized the root of all of this was that I am loved beyond measure, and that the things that we harp on in the Bible are really not the focus when I understood the messages of Jesus and things like that. And so I won't go into all of the spirituality stuff. Maybe I'll do that in another video. Let me know if you guys would want something like that. Just because I know a lot of Christians, they're going to be in the comments just fighting just because, like, they're not even going to get through the whole video. They're going to pause it and they're going to be like, I'm going to go into the comments and say, Erica, this is not of God. You have been deceived and da 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 da. Like, watch. You're going to find those comments. So Um, what, mark my words, you just go pause the video and just start scrolling, right? Give it some time though. But yeah, when people are gonna say what they're gonna say, and it's fine, because most of them are not even gonna get to this part of the video, because once I have said something to offend them, they're going to go into the comments and try to justify it. So I say all of that to say, this has been a beautiful journey of healing for me, a beautiful journey of love for me, a beautiful journey of like self. I just get so mesmerized, right? Because I think a lot of people who are in places of self-harm are just in like these, they want to not live their life anymore because they don't want the pain, they don't want the life that they're living. And I think that that's justifiable. I think that it makes sense for you to not want to live the life that you are living if the life that you are living does not have peace in it, does not have joy, does not have hope. But the question is, it's like, how can you change the life that you are currently living and live the life that you want? Right? Like, I thought that the answer was, let me just take my own life. But when I got that second chance, and I'm so grateful that I got that second chance, I realized like, you have the power to create the life that you want to live. Now, everything didn't happen overnight. I had to really work because I was in just harsh environments. I didn't have money to do what I needed to do. It was a lot of like physical factors that were affecting my ability to like instantly get well. But how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? And so I did it one step at a time, trying to grow through my healing process and understand the things that I needed. So I would say, as I was on this journey, when I got out of the hospital, the first thing that I did was I got a therapist because I needed it. I was a high risk, so I needed therapy. I got community. I surrounded myself with people who loved me more than I loved myself. And how do you identify those people? Because they loved them. They had a very strong sense of self-love. They had a very strong sense of boundaries. They had a very strong sense of just understanding of who they were and what love looked like. I surrounded myself by them because they held me accountable to me. And then I gave myself grace and space to cry, to feel, to go through the actual feelings of things. I journaled a lot, and I came to spaces, or held spaces for me to just feel what I needed to feel for that moment, and without judgment and without trying to run. I stopped running from what I was feeling. I stopped running from the things that like I felt like were painful, that I didn't want to deal with. And I dug in, I tapped in super deeply, deeply. And I decided I wanted to live a different life. And I made some drastic changes. I left some hard environments. I made some very difficult decisions in order to save myself. And that, as a result, was one of the most life-changing experiences that I had. And as I look back on my Forever Love Day, I have so much gratitude because I didn't think that I would be here. I had no desire to want to continue. And me choosing to walk out of that hospital, I made a commitment to myself to say, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to choose a different way of living. I'm going to be different. If I walk out of these doors, I will not come back the same way I came. Like, I will not. I'm not coming out of these doors the same way that I came into them. And that was the moment that I chose me. The first time. Well, really the first time I was trying to choose me by, like, you know, my life. But the chance that I made, the choice that I made to say, I'm choosing me. If I can't exit this life, I'm going to choose me to live a different life. And so thus the different life I live, and it is a beautiful one, and I'm so grateful. And so I made a commitment to love, a commitment to love myself more, to love my family more, to love my community more, to dig in, because when you get close to losing life, you get perspective on life. And for me, my perspective has forever changed. Nothing is more important than love. Nothing is more important than peace and fulfillment. And so I pursue that with everything in me. So that's all I got for y'all today. Happy Forever Love Day for me, and for any of you guys who are coming up to any anniversaries or just any moments where you've had really hard times and you're coming around those times. Remember to give you grace, give yourself space to feel what you feel, but hold space for yourself. Make room for you. I love you guys.